In a quiet kingdom wrapped in moonlight, there lived a gentle-hearted princess named Fairly. Her golden hair glowed like candlelight, and her eyes shimmered like morning dew. Every night, she would walk out onto her marble balcony and sing softly to the stars. Her songs were whispers of peace, melodies that soothed even the night winds. But one evening, something changed. As her voice floated upward, a faint, answering song drifted back. It wasn't human. It was soft, trembling, and bright, a chirp that shimmered like starlight. Fairly leaned forward, heart pounding. From the endless night sky descended a blue bird, its feathers glowing like liquid sapphire. It circled her once, then landed gently on the railing. "Who are you, little one?" Fairly whispered. The bird looked at her, eyes deep as twilight, and sang a note so pure that it made the stars flicker. The song wasn't words, but Fairly somehow understood. Sorrow, longing, and hope hidden beneath the sound. She placed her hand near it. "You're lost, aren't you?" The bird nodded, or perhaps the breeze made it move. From that night on, the blue bird came every evening. Fairly sang, and it replied. Slowly, she began to understand the meanings behind its melodies. It sang of a lost kingdom, a place where bluebirds once guided the winds. But something terrible had happened. The winds had been silenced, the moon dimmed, and the sky forgot how to sing. "Can I help you?" Fairly asked one night. The bird's song trembled. It spoke 3 mysterious words. "Find the moon's tear." Fairly didn't know what it meant, but her heart told her this was destiny. Before dawn, she left her castle. She wore a cloak the color of dusk, and the bluebird flew above her, leaving trails of blue light through the mist. The forests whispered her name, the rivers reflected her courage. She was no longer just a princess, she was a seeker of magic. They traveled through fields of silver grass and valleys where time moved slowly. Fairly felt the air changing. The closer they got to the edge of the kingdom, the softer the world seemed to hum, like music trapped beneath the earth. At last, they reached the forest of mirrors. Every tree there was made of shining glass. When Fairly looked into them, she saw herself not once, but many times. Each reflection was a different version, older, braver, crueler, or filled with fear. "The moon's tear hides beyond truth," sang the bird in a trembling voice. Fairly took a deep breath, she closed her eyes and walked forward. The reflections rippled like water trying to hold her back, but she trusted the bird's light and stepped through the mirror's veil. When she opened her eyes, the world had changed. The sky was lavender, islands floated in the air, waterfalls fell upward. Everything glowed faintly, as though painted with dreams. "The dream realm," Fairly whispered, "so it's real." The bird chirped once, a note that sounded both happy and sad. They had crossed into the land between dreams and waking life. As they walked, shadows moved gracefully across the ground, forming patterns like songs. At the horizon stood a palace made of starlight, the home of the Night Queen. She was beautiful and terrible at once. Her skin glowed like moonstone, and her crown was woven from living shadows. "I know what you seek," said the queen, her voice echoing like midnight bells. "You want the moon's tear." "Yes," Fairly said. "I wish to save my friend." The queen smiled faintly. "Then you must pay its price. The moon's tear is born from a broken heart. Are you ready to give yours away?" Fairly hesitated. The bluebird fluttered nervously, its song trembling with warning. But Fairly placed a hand over her heart. "If that's what it takes to free you, then yes," she whispered. The queen nodded slowly. From her palm, she drew a silver crystal shaped like a teardrop. It pulsed with light, soft, sad, and beautiful. "Then take it," said the queen. "But remember, once your heart gives light to another, it may never shine the same way again." Fairly accepted the crystal. It was cold, and then suddenly warm, like it was breathing. The moment her fingers closed around it, a blinding light erupted through the sky. The dream realm trembled. The mirror shattered, the wind screamed, and Fairly fell down through the air, through clouds of memory and color. The bluebird dove after her, wings glowing like fire. Their lights intertwined, spiraling together until the world became nothing but blue and gold. And then, everything went silent. Fairly opened her eyes to the soft warmth of morning sunlight. Birdsong filled the air. Real birds this time, not made of light or magic. She was lying in the royal garden, dew still clinging to the grass, her silver cloak glimmering faintly under the sun. For a moment, she thought everything had been a dream, the forest, the queen, the fall through the sky, all imagined. But then, she saw it. A shadow beside her moved. A hand reached out. Fairly gasped. The blue bird was gone. In its place stood a young man, tall, graceful, his eyes the same deep sapphire she had seen in the bird's feathers. His hair shimmered faintly blue under the light, and tiny flecks of feathers gleamed at his temples. "You freed me," he said softly, voice like the wind before a storm. "The curse is broken." Fairly sat up slowly, heart pounding. You were the blue bird?" He nodded. "Once I was the Prince of Winds, guardian of the skies, but I failed to protect the bridge between our world and the dream realm. The Night Queen's sorrow sealed it away, and I was cursed into silence, a bird with no song." Fairly's eyes filled with wonder. "And now you're free?" He smiled, a gentle, grateful smile that made the air itself shimmer. "Yes, because of you." The wind stirred, playful and light. Flowers bowed toward them. Even the trees seemed to sigh with relief. Fairly looked down at her hand. The moon's tear was gone, dissolved into faint silver dust. "Then the magic's over?" The prince shook his head. "No, the magic is never over. It only changes shape. You gave part of your heart to restore the sky. The moon's tear was your love made real." Fairly blushed softly. "I didn't do it for magic. I did it for you." He looked at her for a long moment, then said quietly, "Then perhaps that's the purest magic of all." From that day onward, the kingdom changed. The winds that had once been still now carried music. The flowers bloomed twice each season. When Fairly sang, even the clouds seemed to listen. The nights grew softer, the moon brighter. And though the Prince of Winds could not always stay, his realm demanded him, he visited often. Sometimes as a breeze that lifted her hair, sometimes as a whisper through the trees. Together they rebuilt the harmony between earth and sky. The people began to call Fairly the Song of the Sky. They said her voice could calm storms and bring peace to restless hearts. Children grew up hearing her melodies in the evening wind, but Fairly never took credit. When asked, she only smiled and said, "The wind sings because it remembers." Years passed. The kingdom prospered. The rivers sparkled with blue light during full moons. Every harvest season, a faint song echoed from the horizon, the song of the winds returning home. Bards and storytellers came from faraway lands to hear the tale of the princess and her blue bird. In their songs, Fairly became a legend, a symbol of courage, compassion, and love that reached beyond worlds. One evening, as the sun set behind the silver hills, an old storyteller sat beside a fire. Children gathered around him, eyes wide, waiting for the story they loved most. "Once," he began, "there was a princess who sang to the stars, and one night the stars sang back." The children gasped in delight. And somewhere far above, the wind laughed softly, carrying Fairly's melody through the leaves. Fairly grew older, but her spirit never faded. Her golden hair turned silver, but her eyes still shone with the calm of moonlight. Every evening, she would stand on her balcony, just as she once had, and sing. Sometimes, a faint breeze would brush her cheek, gentle, warm, like a kiss from another world. She would close her eyes and whisper, "Good night, my friend." And the wind would answer, low and tender, a familiar song that only her heart could understand. One night, the moon was especially bright. The sky stretched like velvet, and a streak of blue light arced across it, bright as a wish. The people below stopped and pointed. "Look," they cried, "the blue bird returns." But Fairly only smiled. She knew it was not a return. It was a promise kept, a love that had never left. The next morning, the servants found the princess asleep on her balcony chair, her hands folded gently, a peaceful smile on her lips. The wind played softly around her, carrying the faint echo of her last song. They said she had drifted into the dream realm, reunited at last with the Prince of Winds, two souls, one song, forever part of the sky. Centuries later, when travelers wander near the old kingdom, they still speak of the blue light that sometimes streaks across the heavens on calm nights. They say, if you listen closely, you can hear a faint melody in the breeze, the voice of a princess and the wings of a bird, singing together beyond time. And so the legend of Princess Fairly and the Blue Bird of Midnight lives on, a tale of courage, kindness, and the magic that lives in love itself. Because some stories never end. They simply change form, becoming songs in the wind and whispers in our dreams.